Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachare Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hey Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hey Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana O Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Hey Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana O Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari O Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Hey Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari O Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Hey Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe Jaya Radha Madhava Radha Madhava Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalachanji Radha Kalachanji Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalachanji Radha Kalachanji Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe.
To get the gates for the altar open?
Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe. Jaya Radha Gopinatha Radha Gopinatha Radhe Radhe. Oh Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Shri Radhe. Oh Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Shri Radhe. Hey Radhe Govinda Radhe Govinda. Oh Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Shri Radhe. Hey Radhe Radhe Govinda Radhe 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 Govinda Shri Radhe. Hey Radhe Kalachanji Radhe Kalachanji. Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Goda Hari Bol. Janitai Go. Anitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Goda Hari Bol. Nityananda Gauda Chandra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 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 Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for coming on this cold winter night. So, who was here last Sunday, just so I can get a feel for? I'm here because of you, Raj. Prabhuji requested me to give class, so. So yesterday, or last week's class was on gratitude, and we know just a few days back was Thanksgiving. So he was giving the talk on how we should be grateful to the founder Acharya of ISKCON, how we should be grateful to Krishna, Kalachandji, grateful to all the devotees. You're grateful that we can even breathe, that we woke up today. So many things. So I thought, I was asked to give class, and they said, what would you like your topic to be? So I said, gratitude in action, without even thinking too much about it. But then I realized, tomorrow, the day after today, is Gita Jayanti. So it is the astrological day that Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita so many thousands of years ago. This is going to be an interactive class, okay? So everybody be prepared. Young man there, do you know how many thousands of years ago Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita? Around 5,000, they say. Right? Anybody here was there? In a different life, a different form. So the theme of the class is gratitude in action. And the idea is, many of us here are from India, right? Or is it just me? I'm Gujarati. Kimcho. So many people, out of knowing that the Gita is pious, that it's a holy book, they'll touch it to their head, right? They won't put it on the floor, they'll know it's sacred. But will they put it in their head? That's what one thing I was thinking is that we may touch the Bhagavad Gita or keep it in the home, on the altar. Oh, it's a holy book, I should keep it. And like that. But a real sign of gratitude is just like if somebody gives you a gift and then they ask you later, did you say it was a kitchen item, I'm just making something up. Did you utilize the gift? And if you did, and you said yes, they feel satisfied, right? So this Bhagavad Gita literally means the song of God. And it's Krishna helping his dearmost friend who was having a life crisis. I don't know, maybe all of you have had a life crisis to some degree or other, right? Everybody in this modern times, or even in any times, we've had the dark night of the soul, or we've had times in our life where we didn't know what to do, right? What should I do in this activity? What's the dharmic thing to do? What are, how to get peace of mind, how to get out of this anxiety. So many different crises or perplexing situations in life. So as we know, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken on a pretty challenging situation, right? Just like we see here, the chariot, and it's in the middle of a battlefield. right? We know that the conversation took place in the middle of a battlefield, and Arjuna was perplexed. What is the righteous thing to do? He was a kshatriya, somebody who wanted to uphold righteousness for the humanity, not just for himself. He didn't want to just live for himself, but he wanted to create an atmosphere where many humans could be free to live in a dignified, virtuous, righteous way. Right? So he was perplexed. So the idea of today's class, I would just like to also ask, how many of us in the room have read some of the Bhagavad Gita? Please raise your hands. So how many of you have read the whole thing? Beautiful. Yes, so most of us, right? So the point is, we know that chapter, we'll do like a little overview, and I'll give like how I feel that I've put the wisdom of the Gita into my life, into my mental framework of how to decide what to do, right? So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is setting the scene. Like I was saying, it was spoken on a battlefield. And then Arjuna shares to Krishna that he's perplexed. I don't know what to do. I'm a soul, a disciple, and I'm surrendering unto you. Please instruct me. What is best? So then what is Krishna's first instruction? Can we get the microphone too? Another microphone? Oh, here.
Just paraphrasing, do not lament for that which is not worthy of lament.
Yeah, so the first nugget of wisdom is that Krishna says, as the embodied soul, this may be like maybe the second verse in the Bhagavad Gita, but those that know it, we can chant it together. Dehi no shminyata dehe komadam yovanam jada tata dehantara praptir diryas tacha namuyati. So it says, the translation is that as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death, and a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. So this is like lesson one in spiritual life, is that we're not the body. We're not young, we're not old, we're not male, female, we're not Indian, we're not American, but we're the soul or the conscious spirit that existed before we were in this vehicle, and that will exist after this body does its thing, goes back to the different elements in earth, right? So this is lesson number one, and practically speaking, it's the hardest lesson to learn. Because let's all be honest, most of us, our mental energy is thinking, I'm Raseshri. I mean, not all of us are thinking that. We're thinking, I'm a American man, and I should socially interact accordingly, right? Or whatever our designation may be. Then we act in this world according to our temporary misconception of reality. But where Krishna's first thing right off the bat, you're not the body. Lesson number one. And that the body is changing. But who you are as the real person is the soul. And that is also interrelated with reincarnation, right? It says that as the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from childhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at the time of death. So that's a direct explanation of reincarnation. Lesson number 2, let's say. The first one is that we're the soul. Second one is that the soul goes into other bodies. And as we know, as in the future verses, what I would like everybody to do is think of different lessons, or think of the different take-homes that you've had by reading Bhagavad Gita over the years. While I'm speaking, I'm giving mine, but you can also think of yours that that have molded your outlook towards life and reality. So then later in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that yam yam vapi smaram bhavam tyajate ante kalevaram. That whatever our mindset is at the exact moment of death, that will take us to our next circumstance. That our mentality is a subtle physical reality, even in this life, right? Sometimes they say that the face is the index to the mind, right? So usually what we contemplate creates a certain mood and an expression even on our muscular, on our face. So at the exact moment of death, what our bhava, what we're absorbed in. If we're absorbed in Chaitanya Bhav, we will go to Chaitanya. If we're absorbed in Krishna consciousness, we will go to Krishna. If we're absorbed in our dog, we'll become a dog. If we're absorbed in whatever the circumstance may be of our mental disposition, that'll bring us to our next position. So then chapter 1 is setting the scene. Chapter 2, who from the younger people, who remembers the name of chapter 2? Huh? What is it? No. I think chapter 2 is translated as contents of the Gita summarized. So first Krishna tells that every one of you is not the body, but the soul, and that the soul is eternal. And then it goes on to speak how to act on the spiritual platform, right? Anybody remember a verse in chapter 2 that how Krishna's telling Arjuna and all of us how to act on the spiritual platform, even though we're within the material reality? Any verse? Okay, I'll come up with one. You can still think of it. So later in chapter 2, well, we'll just read one more verse that continues. Krishna is telling Arjuna, one who has taken his birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. So Krishna is giving our mind frame, right? What our attitude should be while we're going through the cycle of birth and death, right? Don't get overly affected by it. Be more situated in the soul. Just like after that first bit of wisdom that Krishna gives, Krishna says that the soul can't be burned, can't be withered by the wind, can't be moistened by water. He gives all the different elements, all the material energies, they can't affect who we really are. And then the one we just read, how the soul is passing through the different phases of birth and death. So then, let's think of some verses, please. Nishingarupa, you can think of one verse. We'll give you the mic. Yeah, from the second chapter, how the soul is being advised by Krishna not to be affected by material energy.
it's almost, it seems like every verse in many ways kind of goes along with what you're saying. Text 3, O son of Prita, do not yield to this degrading impotency. It does not become you. Give up such petty weakness of heart and arise, O chastiser of the enemy.
What verse was that?
Text 3.
Text what?
Text 3.
Oh, really? 2, 3?
Klaibhyam mas magam
Oh,
varta
okay.
naitatva upapadyate shudram hriday durbyalam tyakto vishta parantapa.
Jaya, thank you. Anybody else like to share one that they like from their own? Which one is that?
Sri Bhagavan Vacha, as soon as Krishna starts speaking, he's saying, Ashochanan vashocha sampradnyavadan shabashase gatasu nagatasu nanushochanti pandita. So you're I'm just paraphrasing, you're lamenting for that which is not worthy of lamentation, and you're talking like a learned man.
Yeah, one thing that came to mind is like how many of us have put our energies into an attention into certain books that were for our education. Some of us here spent many, many, many years, totally alert, totally fixed on the different information that are coming from this book, because we realized its value in the sense that it would help us in our material occupation, right? Or even other books. Just we can think how many of us have read certain books because we thought it would help us, in our relationships or whatever, and we took it totally seriously. But then how many of us are taking this book seriously, Bhagavad Gita? Because we don't see, in one sense, we don't see its relevance to our existence, because we're more or less absorbed in material comforts, material relationships, and there's no impetus so much to take it seriously. Even for myself, that's what I was thinking. What if I've been reading this book for 30 years, I was a monk, I was a brahmachari for 15 years, and I would read it. I mean, how many times you read it, Gokulananda, Bhagavad Gita? Once? Who's read it more than 5 times? Point is, like, we're taking so many things, giving our attention to so many things, so many books, or more, it may be nowadays entertainment, scrolling, or whatever it is on the phone that captivates us. But whereas this information, it doesn't seem relevant, but it's of the utmost, because just a little bit of this wisdom, there's one, Krishna says, can save us from the most dangerous type of fear. And what is that fear? Of coming back into the cycle of samsara, of birth, death, old age, and disease. So just a little bit of knowledge, just like later as the chapters continue, there's a chapter 4 is called Transcendental Knowledge, right? So this is a very famous shloka where Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mamaiti so Arjuna. Translation is that one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode. This is good news. But for whatever reasons, we aren't so serious about getting out of the cycle of birth and death for whatever. But once the soul becomes desirous to whatever degree, Krishna also says in the same chapter 4, he says, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanu vartante manusha partha sarvasaha. That as those approach me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects. So to the degree that we want liberation, to the degree that we want a spiritual connection with Krishna, to that degree, Krishna is ready to reciprocate. And even they say, you take one step towards Krishna, he takes 10 steps towards you. And sometimes they say, like, there's the Vishnu manifestation, expansion of Krishna with 4 arms. But sometimes there's other Vishnus with many arms, right? Flying on Garuda. And it says that if Krishna wants to give you something with his unlimited hands, how much can we accept with our 2 hands? So Krishna wants to inundate every soul with pleasure that goes beyond the body. But we're just, to different degrees, satisfied with whatever little comforts we can get and pleasures we can get from the material energies. But lesson 1 is that actually after Krishna says that we're not the body, but we're the eternal soul, he tells a nice verse. Let's see if the kids know this one. Macha sparshastu konteya shitoshna sukha dukkada agamapaino nityastam statikshashva bharata. Who has the mic? Do you know the translation, kids? You can tell us. You can paraphrase if you don't know it by heart also.
It's like the 4 seasons, summer, winter, fall, and spring. You should tolerate like the seasons, and yeah.
Yeah, it says that one should learn to tolerate the happiness and distress that are just like winter and summer seasons. They appear and disappear, right? But one should learn to be steady and not just be oscillated, emotionally absorbed in the externals. That was Krishna's main second instruction. So yeah, Bhagavad Gita will be recited tomorrow in the temple room. If anybody has time, you can also chime in at work or at home. You can go on to Kalachanji Live on YouTube or on Facebook also. We'll be starting at 12:30 and reciting all the verses of Bhagavad Gita. So it's very purifying and uplifting just to be around the vibration. Even like myself, I don't know Hindi, of course, or I don't know Sanskrit, but just hearing these verses, not knowing them is purifying. But what to speak of knowing the meaning and then applying it to our lives, right? This is the angle that I was taking on action, or gratitude in action, is taking the gift that Krishna is giving. Krishna is giving this Bhagavad Gita, this guide of how to get out of material miseries forever. Not just a one-stop shop. It's not just like you may, get a fix from some pain at a doctor's office, something that's ailing you, and the doctor or the dentist helps you with a material, something that's paining your body once. But then again, because of material absorption and thinking that we're of this material world, we'll come back again into another body and have to go through more pains of different varieties. But whereas Krishna says that one who knows me and knows my transcendental nature, they don't come back. Because ultimately we're not meant to exist separately from a loving, blissful relationship with Krishna. And the supreme place for that is in the spiritual reality, Goloka Vrindavan. There's like this this altar is super brilliant colors, smiling faces, flowers. This is what the spiritual world is, an eternal place of ever increasing loving reciprocation. And it's like the material reality is the exact opposite, right? It's like the soul is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, Sat Chit Ananda. But the material body, the material tabernacle, Prabhupada says sometimes, is the exact opposite. It's temporary, not full of knowledge, and it's not blissful. It's mainly giving us pains in so many different varieties. Even the smallest little thing can give so much pain, right? A tiny toothache or a tiny splinter on your foot or something very small can totally ruin your day, or or one little germ that gives you some sickness. So Krishna goes through the whole conversation of the Bhagavad Gita. Young girl, how long do you think the conversation was in when Krishna spoke to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra? Have you ever heard? I think they say it was like 45 minutes. So he spoke just like Arjuna was asking questions and Krishna was answering and giving wisdom. This was 5,000 years ago. But to this day, people that are wanting to get relief from the anxieties and pressures and pains of material life can get freedom from just reading. How blissful is that, right? Just to hear the words. And it takes a while to sink in, right? Like I was saying, I've been reading this. Some people, that's why I like also, there's another verse that comes to mind. Bahunam janmanam ante gyanavanmam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. So Krishna says, after many, many births and deaths, those who are wise surrender unto me, knowing me to be all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So sometimes it takes many lives, and most likely for all of us it'll take many lives of pursuing the reality, reviving our original relationship with Krishna. So Krishna goes on to say that we're souls, but what is a soul? We're not the body, we're the consciousness, we're the soul, but what is a soul? Everyone who knows this shloka, please. Mamevamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana manashashtan indriyani prakritishtani karshati. That the living entities in this material world are struggling very hard with the six senses, which includes the mind, but that they are my parts and parcels. That's in chapter 15, I think. So Krishna is giving so much wisdom that it's just up to us, right? It's just like there's a saying sometimes that what is the qualification to receive the unlimited mercy that God wants to give us? Is there a qualification? Some people think you have to be, pious and pure and whatnot. But God doesn't care so much about that. What he cares when somebody gives you kripa, mercy, what is your qualification? To give is to get it, is just to receive it. Just like if I were to give you this gift of this Bhagavad Gita, the only thing she has to do is reach out and accept it. So similarly, the only thing we have to do is accept. Krishna wants to give us wisdom, so we have to mull it over in our thought process. Oh, how should I apply this to my daily life? How should I apply this to my relationship with my family? I'm a soul. I'm not just the body. How should I apply that wisdom to even my work? My attitude towards work. And Krishna says, how we should act also. And then further in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that one who explains this secret, this knowledge that I'm giving to you, to other people, to my devotees, he is the most dear to me. And never will there be one more dear to me than him. Right? So this is, I was talking with a friend the other day saying that I'll try to give the Bhagavad Gita, the talk at the Sunday feast. And he was saying something that unless you give it to others, you lose it yourself. Unless you give it away, you can't keep it. He was like, trying to be philosophically cute or, wise. And he was like, wow. He said, I've never said that before. I just, unless you give it away, you can't keep it. So it's the same, that a Brahmana's activities, mainly, patan, yajan, to give spiritual wisdom, to teach people how to engage as in yajna, like that. And that if you keep it, then you're not a Brahmana, but you're a kripana, a miser, selfish person, So this knowledge is meant, just like our founder, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, the first time he met his guru, he said, please share this most valuable wisdom in the Western speaking language. That was his. Even he, when you see a saintly person, you do dandavats. So he did his obeisances. And before he could even get up, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guru of our guru, the founder of this whole movement, society, said that please spread these teachings in the English-speaking language. So when he was 70 years old, he came on a merchant ship, not even on a cargo ship, I mean to say, not even on a passenger ship. He begged his way, and it took him months. And he turned 70 on the way and had some heart attacks even. Just why? To fulfill the request of his teacher to share this love of Krishna, to share this spiritual knowledge with all of the world. And just like, he would travel. After he came to the West, then he stayed for about 12 years traveling all over the world, opening up temples, opening up schools, opening up farm communities, opening up restaurants, all for the upliftment of the spiritual awareness of all the world. And once he was in England, and the person, they were doing an interview with him, they said, why have you come here? So rude, right? Somebody is coming, it's like somebody comes to your house and you say, what are you doing here? So, Prabhupada was traveling, and the interviewer said, why have you come here? So Prabhupada immediately, with spiritual wisdom and wit, said, I have come here to give you what you forgot to steal. Just like we know the English were in England, or the English were in India for so long. And what is that? Pure love of God, pure love of Krishna. So these books, Prabhupada's main gift to the world is these books. Prabhupada said our centers are meant for that people can come and we can hear and chant about Krishna. So we're doing kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But Prabhupada's books are written kirtan. And it's actually said that if you want to know me, I am in my books. I am more in my books than I am in my person. So we can read these books more and more. I do it personally, and I try to mold my life to get more absorbed in connecting with these words, because it's like the vision of reality. And Prabhupada also said that these purports are my devotional ecstasies. So who doesn't want to be ecstatic? So when we are connected with the ecstasies of a pure devotee, then everything is blissful. So I would also like to say that not only tomorrow are we doing the recitation of the whole Bhagavad Gita, but the whole month of December is called the Prabhupada Book Marathon, where we as a society try to distribute as many of these books as possible. So we have got some Bhagavad Gitas here, and we would like all of you to please purchase some, or you can also give donations so that other people can distribute them on your behalf, and everybody can get uplifted. Because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the guru of Prabhupada, once said, there's nothing lacking in this material world except one thing. We all have more than enough material facilities, but what is that pinprick in the social body at large? Why is there such mass scale dissatisfaction and wars and whatever, conflict even among family members? Because we all, to different degrees, aren't receiving peace of mind or satisfaction or peace. So what is the peace formula? What is the Bhagavad Gita peace formula? Everybody, 529. Bhoktaram yagyatapasyam sarvaloka maheshwaram sukhiram sarvabhutanam gyatvam shantim richati. So, what was that? 529? Who knows the translation by heart? You guys are a real tough crowd, man. I'm sure people know it. Mike? Oh, okay. So a person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities. That's the Bhoktaram, the supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram yagya tapasyam. And he's the supreme enjoyer of all yagyas and all tapas. All sacrifices and austerities is meant for the pleasure of the Lord. Sukhridam sarvabhutanam. Krit, the word heart comes from this krit. Su means very dear to the heart. So he's everyone's best friend, is how it's translated. Sukhridam sarvabhutanam, the controller of all planets and demigods. So, gyatvam shantim richati. You got gyatva, the shanti. You got the peace. So I'll read the translation, how Prabhupada did it. A person in full consciousness of me, knowing me to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. So that's such a gift, right? Just by knowing Krishna's omnipotence and Krishna's position, and we're freed from all material miseries, which is, a desire of all of us. So, I request, everybody that's interested, you can see Achyuta Govinda. I think you're going to do a slideshow? Okay. So we would like to also share that, in this community we have study groups. Like my wife is part of a Bhakti Shastri. They meet usually on Sundays, a little before this class. And they study the Bhagavad Gita together. And they study other, main books of Srila Prabhupada. And also there's so many opportunities online to study Bhagavad Gita. But do yourself a favor and enjoy, just like, I'm sure everybody has been eating like anything. Thanksgiving is usually like the overeating festival. So now give yourself food for the soul. What is food for the soul? Krishna's own words. Krishna's relationship with all of us. And that we can also share these books. We can buy some and give them as Christmas gifts, give them to family members, study the books, make a plan within our own lives to become more familiar and more apt at how to apply the wisdom in our life. It takes a while also to see, sometimes, I read the Bhagavad Gita so many times, like, wow, what's going on here? What's going on there? But then you read it, it's just like if somebody were to become a doctor and they were to want to read the books themselves, it would be very hard for them to get acquainted and get with such detailed knowledge. So similarly with the Bhagavad Gita, we need teachers and mentors to help us see the practicality and inspire us to apply the wisdom. So thank you for your company, your attention. And should we do any questions? If anybody has a question or two or a reflection, please share, and then we'll see a quick video about book distribution.
I just had this reflection, Prabhu, when you said that you've read the Bhagavad Gita so many times. I was just thinking that it was spoken 5,000 years ago in such a short period of time, and it was really questions being asked by Arjuna, a particular person in a particular circumstance, because he was having this particular situation that he was going through. But yet the Bhagavad Gita is so universally applicable that even though it has been so many years later, still it can nourish the life, and it can improve the life of literally anybody, which means that the knowledge is just so universal that it lends itself to being applicable even in this time and age, and to, as you said, to be reading again and again.
With Srila Prabhupada, he gave so much of his life, his heart, his energy to provide these books for us. Essentially,
relevance, or we don't see that this is actually like a guide map to get out of the cycle of birth and death. We don't see it, take it so seriously, But actually, it's so imperative that we take it more seriously,
of transcendental knowledge. The real,
just like my son likes, or my kids, they like to read so many different books, but because their mentality is just young or whatever, they may not see the enjoying aspects of the wisdom that Krishna is giving. Anybody else like to share one thing before we watch the video?
Thank you so much for the wonderful class. I was just thinking, the Bhagavad Gita has 700 verses, so some may think, well, when will I have the time to read, 700 verses? Can you give any advice, any guidance? How can we approach the Bhagavad Gita if maybe we never have? If it seems overwhelming, too much?
Well, what comes to mind is that, Prabhupada translated the Bhagavad Gita, translated the Srimad Bhagavatam, translated the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the Nectar of Devotion, so many books, all these books in these cases here. But sometimes his servants would come in, his students would come in, and he'd be reading his own books. And they were like, wow, you wrote these books. But Prabhupada said, no, I did not write these. Krishna wrote these. I was just used as an instrument. And then he said that these books are just like a sweet ball. Any angle you approach it, you get the sweetness. You got a rasgulla. You eat anywhere, any side, turn it this way, that way, upside down, throw it up, it's delicious. So anyway, you can, like when I first came in touch with Prabhupada's books, I was 19 years old, and I wasn't into reading at all. I wasn't a studious kid. I would get these small books like Perfection of Yoga, Beyond Birth and Death, and I put it in my back pocket. And then I was into skateboarding. I'd skateboard around, then I was take a little break. I would just open the book anywhere and read like 2 sentences randomly, be like, wow. So yeah, depends how you are. If you're like academic and studious, find somebody who can present the Bhagavad Gita to your intellectual capacity and get enlivened. If you're like I was as a young teenager, open the book anywhere. I think Ratadvaja Maharaj said when he gave his class last time, he said, before you read, you can pray, my dear Kalachandji, my dear Prabhupada, please help my intelligence absorb what you want to share with me. So some people it's like learning music. Some people, when they get a teacher, they have to practice. I remember when I tried to practice, I couldn't make mistakes in front of the teacher. So I had to ask the teacher, I was like, can you go outside the room? I'll practice it. Then you come in and show me how I'm doing. So some people, they may be like that. Okay, let me get it on my own. Let me get a little bit of wisdom on my own. Then I can read with others. Other people, they can, read with other, have a reading group or whatever. Different shloks for different folks, All right. Anybody else?
I heard something nice along those same lines, that if we just read 2 verses a day, then you read the whole Gita every year. So even if it seems like a lot, you could just break it down into 2 verses a day.
A sage, page by page. Okay, thank you all very much. Happy Gita Jayanti tomorrow. It's also Ekadasi. If you feel like fasting from beans and grains, go for it. If you feel like fasting, just eating fruits, whatever, that's all good. Just take prasadam also. Hare Krishna.